The BMW E46 M3 was released to critical acclaim when new. Journalists loved the S54 engine, the throttle adjustable chassis, and those punchy, muscular good looks. There were, however, some criticisms that will come as no surprise to anyone familiar with this era of BMW. The steering was numb and slow, the damping was choppy over UK B roads, and the brakes would fade to nothing after a few hard stops. BMW remedied this with a CSL in 2004. However, that car came with a renewed track focus that wasn't for everyone, which meant a pared back interior, aggressive geo settings, and the often misunderstood SMG gearbox. You see, if you wanted the ultimate manual E46 M3, you had to get this, the E46 M3 CS. We sold a stunning one-of-one Imola Red 6-speed manual M3 CS on Shooting Brake a few months ago for £38,250. The owner was kind enough to let us road review the car so we could show you what this rare piece of M history is all about. If you're looking to buy or sell your next pride and joy, Shooting Brake is a place for you. So what is the E46 M3 CS? Well, there's three big changes over the standard E46 M3, which is by all accounts a brilliant car. First things first, we've got the CSL steering rack. Now, this was one of the biggest criticisms of the M3 when it came out, and this rack gets rid of the dead zone in the middle, plus it's quicker to boot. It also retains the M3 torsion bar spring that the steering racks have, meaning that you retain that amazing feeling of the steering loading up on lock, which you lose if you upgrade these with a purple tag rack from a non-M BMW. The other thing is the damping. So the damping is effectively much softer on the initial part of the travel. That means on UK roads, whilst you do lose some body control, UK roads feels much quicker because it deals with the undulations, crests and cams of the road much better. That gives you the confidence to push on regardless of the road surface, which is a really nice feeling. Whereas the original M3 felt like it was set up for the Nürburgring or the Autobahn or on track, but then when you took it on track, you'd find that the standard spring rates push the car into understeer. So it was a bit of a compromise that felt like more to do with feel as opposed to any sort of performance gain. In this car, you get a slightly float sensation coming into a corner because it's a bit softer, but once you get it loads up, you realise it's actually more faithful than a standard car, and with 1600 kilos and off, it actually benefits from the weight transfer to get the wheels loaded up. We've got the standard staggered 19s on this. Now, a lot of people are big proponents for square 18-inch setups. I've got the same setup on my E46 M3. It has its drawbacks, however. Whilst you do get more grip, when you're really pushing on, you lose this kind of delicate sense of feel that the standard E46 M3 has. And with the damping and the steering rack upgrade on the CS, that delicate sense of everything being in perfect harmony with each other, steering, the brakes, the gear change, the clutch, is accentuated even more, and it's such a stunning feeling. Even though you're not actually going much quicker, the feel of the car is just so much nicer. It's so readable, it's so gorgeous, it's so predictable. It feels like putty in your hands. I stand by the fact that the E46 M3 isn't necessarily a 10/10 car as standard. However, for the road, enjoying this car on the road, just going through the gears, enjoying the 8,000 RPM S54, leaning on the steering a little bit, getting the chassis loaded up, the CS makes for an incredible package. And it's so much more than the sum of its parts. Yes, you could get an M3 and get upright suspension, you get a quick rack and you get bigger brakes, but it's that final calibration plus the nice little things you get on the 05 onwards models like the CSL manifolds that make this car worth the extra money. And on top of that, obviously being a limited run, it does hold its value. So let's break it down piece by piece. I'm going to start with the CS specific parts. So let's talk a bit more about that steering. You retain that kind of chunky, satisfying feeling of a standard E46 M3. It's a fairly heavy system. It's not dripping in feel. Unfortunately, I would like a bit more feel, but it tells you enough. You understand what's going on underneath you, and you kind of learn to trust it. And once you do, you realize it's a very faithful system that will tell you when the front end starts to understeer before it actually does, which is very nice. Gearing, in my opinion, is perfect. It's like Porsche levels of perfection when it comes to B roads. And it's not twitchy on the motorway. I found that the Z4M coupe rack, which is the quickest steering rack BMW gave this platform, I found that to be a bit twitchy on the motorway. This is a really nice balance, readable and quick without being jarring to use on long runs, but you're able to steer it with your wrists on technical UK B roads like this, which gives you the confidence to focus on the chassis itself. It's largely the same, but you got revised spring and damper rates on this. And what you get is this initial softness over the finer bumps and crests, which gives you so much confidence to find the grip on the road that you're on. And it also allows the car to move around and load up the outside wheel, which actually gives you a fair bit more grip. In terms of fast road driving and actual road driving, I think that makes for a really beautiful package, and it's super confidence inspiring in a way that the standard M3 isn't. The standard M3 can be a bit intimidating to drive down a road like this. Next up is the engine. It's largely unchanged in the CS, but let's just talk about this car, because this car has a low mileage, 59,000 miles, excellent service history, and as a result, so we're going to put at 2.5K there. Bear in mind this engine revs to 8,000 RPM, delivers peak power at 7,900 RPM. It shouldn't be able to pull like this so cleanly. 3K onwards, you've got great power. You could drive this car from 3 to 6K and not feel like you're missing out. I mean, you are missing out on that glorious top end, but even from 3 to 6K, it feels so strong and so powerful and so smooth. You don't need to drive around any kind of flat spots. And the reason that is that being a low mileage car, the Vanos, the cam sensors, crank sensors, the MAF, the TPS are all in fantastic condition, and they deliver that final bit of calibration that makes the S54 so usable whilst being an absolute screamer at the top end. Next up, we've got the brakes. Slightly different boost on this, it's a bit quicker. I don't know if that's a CS thing or a late model thing. I don't mind that. I wouldn't mind a longer pedal, to be honest, particularly because you've got quite a long throttle for heeling and towing. I suppose BMW want you to drive this in sport mode when you get on it, which shortens the throttle. Personally, I prefer driving with a long pedal. But as always, the brake pedal has stunning feel to it. It's got excellent progression. You feel like you know exactly where you need to get your foot in to get the car brakes into a corner. It's a really nice pedal feel for pushing on. I haven't got these to fade yet, I haven't tried, so ultimately got a single silent caliper on a 1600 kilo car, but they are obviously an improvement over the standard E46 M3 braking system. Oh, what a stunning thing. It feels like it's in its home territory here on a technical, twisting, crested, cambered UKB road, and that is such a high accolade that so many manufacturers get wrong in their performance cars. They set their cars up for the track, they set it up for Nürburgring, they set it up to be able to be stable in the Autobahn, 150 miles an hour with 4 passengers and luggage and a full tank of fuel, and you drive it down the UKB road like this and it turns into a mess and damping all over the place. This is just so composed, so beautiful, so readable. What a thing, it's so much more than some of its parts. Yes, you could stick a rack in your standard M3, you could get the suspension, all that kind of stuff, but you wouldn't be able to get that final calibration that BMW achieved with this, that kind of delicate balance, that delicate compromise that's required for a road car to be genuinely enjoyable to use, genuinely capable on the road. We've reviewed a fair few E46 M3s on the channel already. You're going to get the one for my own coupe coming up after this, and you can go to those videos for more in-depth review about the M3 platform generally. But if you're interested in the CS and interested in understanding a bit more about it, the main thing you need to know is that those final modifications that BMW made add up to produce an incredible road car. Possibly one of the best out there when it comes to engagement and just driving joy. They're just fantastic. Criticisms, well, there aren't many. This really is a great package for the road, but there are a few odd choices that BMW made. The first one is these seats. These are the standard E46 M3 seats, and in my opinion, they're sitting too high, they haven't got enough support, and they're extremely heavy. The decision to keep them in is quite unusual given the fact that BMW thought it would be appropriate to remove the cruise control on the CS, which I thought was a bit miserly, really. However, that button is instead replaced by the M track mode. So M track mode is a backed off DSC setting. It allows the rear end to step out a little bit, but it will gather you up before anything really dramatic happens. It's a great option to be able to just enjoy the chassis balance of the car, because the standard DSC system is very, very aggressive, whilst knowing that you're not going to end up in a bush. That's a great thing to have. The CS is a fantastically confident B-road blaster that you would be really, really happy to grab the keys to on a Sunday drive. You would take this over some much more sophisticated machinery, in my opinion, because it's just so lovely and accessible on the road. It's so addictive. I just don't want to get out of it. I really, really don't. So final conclusions, is the CS worth the extra money over a standard M3? I think the CS offers genuine driver appeal. It's so much more than some of its parts. I think you'd have to try very, very hard, invest a lot of time and money to get a standard M3 to drive like this, even with an upgraded steering rack and better brakes and damping. There's the R&D that BMW put into this, particularly with the damping setup, that is really invaluable. At the same time, these do command a hefty premium over standard M3. However, you would get that return if you were to move the car on you. So the total cost of ownership are very similar. In my opinion, if you have the liquidity to get into a CS over a standard M3, then they are worth it. On top of that, this specific example, the mileage, the heritage, the fact that it's a one-of-one Imola Red example, I mean, you can't really beat that. This one just feels so special. Specifically, it's got that luster that these cars had when new. It's little things like the 3-stage silver finish on the wheels, the Imola paintwork, it's not pink, it's still got that deep red sheen to it. All these interior plastics are still brand new. Often these get scratched up or start peeling. You get the feeling that you could kind of go into this car in a dealership and feel like it was brand new. That's priceless, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot to get an E46 M3 up to that standard, because most people bought these cars to use and use regularly, and as a result, most of them do show their age. Mine definitely does. So overall, this does offer genuine driver's appeal, but also, if you are looking to add something to a collection and you want the last of the proper analog, manual, straight stick BMW best example you could possibly buy, owing to its heritage, owing to its colour, owing to its rarity, and owing to those additional modifications that BMW made with the CS. What an incredible thing.
This iconic E46 M3 CS sold for £38,250 on shootingbreak.com, the auction platform run by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. We tailor-make individual marketing programs for each car we sell to ensure they get the attention they deserve, and our specialist, real-world knowledge in the modern classic and sports car space means there's no safer place to trade your pride and joy. We've got plenty more content lined up for you, so make sure you stay subscribed to our YouTube channel. You've been watching Shooting Break. My name's Galeb. Thanks for watching.